This is Out of Office Era, a podcast where we're unpacking real conversations about the things we love, the places that we go, and the people that we're becoming. I'm your host, Janelle Rupp-Calvis, a travel and lifestyle content creator that shares both the beautiful moments and the behind the scenes on the internet. But this is the space where we're going to dive deeper. Today's episode is about the price of visibility. The love, the hate, and the comments that keep you or me up at night. I wasn't planning on recording this episode today. This had been planned for way later on in the podcast, but after what happened yesterday, this felt like the right time. If when you guys are hearing this episode, this will be probably 2 weeks ago at the time it happened. But I'm sharing online right now about an experience I had yesterday with a group of women bullying me online and how it really affected me yesterday. And I receive hundreds of comments every day bullying me from and harassing me specifically about my body. And yesterday it got to me. So I want to dive into not that specific situation further, but more so what it's like to exist online and how I deal with it, the love that I get online, the hate that I get online, and the boundaries that I have to set too. So let's get into it. So first, let's talk about the love, which is the best part, and it's why I do what I do. These are the amazing comments you guys leave me, the DMs that I get, people saying like, you make me feel so seen. I'm finally able to see someone with my body type on the internet. Like, this is really great. They're getting fashion inspo, travel inspo. And those are the moments that make existing online feel so worth it for me. Hearing your guys' stories and how the work that I do impacts you makes it all worth it. One of the things, like an example that happened recently, was a woman DM'd me saying that I finally felt comfortable asking for a seatbelt extender for the first time in my life. I've always felt ashamed, and I was able to just ask for it very matter of factly. And it's because of one of the videos that I had posted where I just simply recorded myself asking for a seatbelt extender. I've done this a few times now. I don't need one on every flight, but every plane is different. So when I do need one, I tend to record it and post it online because it sounds like people need to hear that it's okay to ask for it and it's okay to ask for things for your safety. So I posted it, and every time I've posted it, maybe 2 or 3 times now or four, the video always gets hundreds of thousands of views. And what that tells me is that there is so much need for community and connection when people feel marginalized or different than, whether it's plus size or the color of your skin or your background or you're neurodivergent or those sorts of things. Sharing those simple moments online, to me, when I see them go viral, just shows like how much we're all kind of craving that connection still. So I think it's just really important to share some of those vulnerable moments and show that it's okay to exist in our bodies. This wasn't always super easy for me. Um, my original content actually started in the fitness space. Believe it or not, I was a college volleyball player. I was very competitive. That's kind of what a lot of my childhood was in a gym playing volleyball. I ended up getting a D2 scholarship, and that was my life for a good decade. That was my identity. And I had a career-ending injury my freshman year of college that really has has bothered me ever since. I was 17 years old or 18, maybe just turned 18 when it had happened, and I was not able to play afterwards. I tore 2 discs and herniated 2 discs in my lower back. I still deal with chronic pain today, and I'm 31. It is a lifelong injury that I deal with, and because of that, I have gone from being athletic. I have gone from being overweight. I have gone through just so many different phases of my body, and that has required me to learn how to love myself at an even deeper level, because at some phases of my life, the internet will tell you that you're allowed to, or the society will tell you that it's okay to love yourself, like you deserve it. But at other weights, you see that narrative shift and you see the hate comments coming in, and you have to really like dig deeper inward to make sure that you can tune out that noise. And so when I had a back surgery back in 2014, and so by 2015, I was able to start working out again. And I was like, okay, this is my chance to kind of figure out if what my back can do post surgery. And I had no pain. Well, I had limited pain, I should say. It brought my pain like maybe 85% better. I was able to like sit again and just like sit in a chair at like an office desk. I was able to sit on a plane and do things that I hadn't been able to really do because of the excruciating pain I was experiencing. And so that's kind of when I started the fitness page. and it had transitioned into a travel page as I started traveling with work. The pain started coming back with my back as the surgery benefits wore off, and my body's changed. And so I almost felt ashamed in some ways to recognize it online because felt like I was letting people in my life down. I felt like I was letting, just society down because that's what they want you to think in some ways. And so I didn't want to acknowledge it directly, and I didn't for the longest time. I focused on travel, and it was easy to do so back then because things were very niched. Everyone was focused on niching your content. So I made the shift over to travel. And this is all pre TikTok and Instagram Reels. It's all photos. This is very like baby influencer days. Um, but I made the shift over into travel, and it felt so natural for me. I really loved it. And now I exist I've shifted my content again, and I'm kind of in the mix of travel is my main thread, but I talk about life size. I talk about what it's like to exist in a plus size body. I'm talking about beauty content. I'm talking about getting married. We are more than one dimensional people. So for me, it also felt natural to just start talking about things that made sense for me. But it took me a while to be able to talk about plus size content for those same reasons of shame of maybe why you sit down on a couch and put a pillow over your stomach, or you wear a sweater even when it's hot out because you want to cover your arms. It's kind of that same veil that I was putting on my own body by not addressing it or talking about it. Not even addressing it like I owe anyone an answer, but by not talking about it online, it was like a veil for me because I wasn't opening up direct comments as much to my body. And I think that that's what I've found when it comes to the hate is that because I refer to myself as a plus size person, I use the word fat sometimes. Like people feel like it's okay to make comments on my body and to hate on it and send me DMs and emails. And you have one video go viral, and it'll start out as being within your own community and people who maybe agree with you or within your niche. And then it'll go out to more people because the video is still going viral, and it'll go out to people who don't agree with you or want to leave a comment about you. And they'll start commenting, which tells the algorithm to send it out to more people. And it can be extremely exhausting on the creator side for us to receive that kind of hostility on posts and DMs under brand deals. Even received emails about this, and in the beginning it really crushed me. I had like a folder on my phone of some of these comments in the beginning, more so because of like I knew back then, even when it was hurting me more, that I wanted to bring visibility to that. So I wanted to save some of them. Now couldn't even save I couldn't even save all of the comments in one day if I wanted to because there are so many. At first it really like one comment would sit with me for a while, but once I started receiving like maybe my first 100 hate comments, you start realizing how similar they are. They're all just the same one-liner joke that they heard one time and they commented on your page to get a bunch of likes on it. And um, you realize how not personal it is. They'll leave it under, anyone who they'll leave these types of comments on anyone who exists in a different marginalized community or just doesn't align with them. But it took a while to get there. And the more I was able to become numb to some of these comments, and I mean that in a positive way, is it started affecting me less and I started realizing how not personal it is about me, the more I was able to talk about my experiences more, because at the same time I'm receiving these types of hates comments for the first time is also when I'm receiving the types of DMs that I hadn't received up until that point that were like, wow, I feel so seen. Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel so alone in this. And so, oh, I have chills. It was those comments and those DMs far outweigh in volume, in, the volume of what they mean to me. Um, they far outweigh all the mean comments that I can receive. And so that really started telling me that I should share more of this and I don't need to keep myself small and avoid these vulnerable, hard topics, even though the internet thinks that that's an invitation to speak negatively about you. And the other side of it is I started having a little bit of fun with it too. I know that, every creator has to handle these comments in their own way, whether that's blocking, deleting, do whatever feels right to you, ignoring, paying someone to delete them. Those are all valid options. But something that I also found out, I had feedback from actually Fiona, who's our guest next week on the pod. Finding Fiona. We were at dinner one night after meeting for the first time. We'd spent 5 days together. And in general, like Fiona, you'll find out next week, she's very vulnerable online, as am I. And so in general, like we felt that each other showed up very similarly as we are in the real world. However, one comment she made to me was that she's like, I didn't realize how funny you were. Like, and I started reflecting on that. It was just really beneficial for me and like my journey as a creator and what I could also like expand upon in my content. She was Because my humor is very dry, very witty, one-liner type stuff. She was like, I didn't realize that. And I started thinking about my content. And I'm like, you're right. I like haven't shown that because it's kind of hard to do that when I'm putting out, more professional reels. Even if they're funny and casual, I wasn't necessarily capturing some of those one-off moments. And that's when I started playing with the haters in my comments, kind of like a cat plays with a mouse. That's how I viewed it. I'm commenting back on them. I'm giving them burns back and trying to share just like some of my humor with my audience and share some of that wittiness. And it was fun. Like the feedback I got from the audience, it almost like we are corralling together against these internet bullies, and it showed like a softer side of how to handle this, where it doesn't have to be so serious all the time. I don't need to reflect on this. None of it's that serious, like what they're saying to me. These are internet trolls. So instead, let's have a little fun with it, and it increases my engagement at the end of the day. Like, let's get those numbers up. So I think that was one of the techniques that I also use. I use a mixture of them now to help manage the hate. Um, but this can also be applied in your real life. I know, you know, a lot of the times online, what I experience is a lot more direct. But in real life, the comments that we receive as people in larger bodies are more microaggressions or offhanded comments, or like I remember in my earlier 20s, I think people are a little bit more aware now, at least in my circle, because I'm vocal online, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But a comment that I would hear sometimes in my early 20s is conventionally thin friends of mine putting on an outfit saying, I look so fat in this, or ugh, like I look so fat in this. And that was always hard to hear because I'm sitting there in my body that does look fat every day. I don't get to choose whether or not I show up and look skinny that day because it's not in the cards for me. And I'm hearing them talk about looking fat in a negative term. And that's really hard. And that's just one example of microaggressions that you might experience where people aren't meaning for it to be about you or your body, but they're kind of forgetting who's in the room. Online, they know who's in the room. But for me, now that I talk about it so openly online, what I've actually found is that it has opened up conversations with my friends and family at a much deeper level where they feel comfortable asking me questions about how I feel about something, how they can be more inclusive. I can just talk about my feelings more matter of factly. I was headed to a bachelorette party a year ago, and the bride had said that she wanted to do a like thrift day where we're going to go out. We were in Palm Springs. We're going to go out to a thrift store and like pick out outfits that we're going to wear out that night. And I had pulled the bride and her sister, who's one of my best friends. They're both very close friends of mine. And I kind of pulled them aside before we left. We were planning together. And I was like, just so you know, I don't know if they're going to have things in my size at the thrift stores there. I don't know what the thrift scene is. Like, it just depends on what we're walking into, and we won't know till we're there. So I'm going to bring another, outfit or something that I can wear just in case. I'll obviously try my best. In worst case, I can get some accessories, but I just want you guys to know that something that I'm going to be that's something that we might have to face while we're there. And by we, I mean I'll just be looking through the racks, but I wanted them to be aware of it. And I didn't want to let them down or have them, say, "Oh my God, you're not finding anything," and not realize that it's probably because they don't carry my size, for example. So that was one of the things I did, just very matter of factly. I posted a few videos of that experience online a year ago. And one of the things I said was just like in the thrift store, I posted a video of me going through and I explained the concept of this night. I was like, let's see if we find anything. I didn't have to feel bad about it. I don't have to feel bad about my body. I addressed it with the people planning it and said that, like I was okay with it, with the theme. I have no problem with, bringing something myself, and I'll see what I can do and to make it work. And sure enough, I was able to find something. It took a lot of digging on the racks, to be honest. This was a smaller thrift store, so there wasn't an abundance of options, but I was able to find something that worked, and it was a really fun night. I loved the concept of the theme too, but it was just one of those moments where it's okay to say, these things might not fit me. This might not work for me. And I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm just trying to be honest about the situation. And then in the thrift store, my friends were able to come up and say, "Hey, have you had any luck finding anything? Do you need any help finding something?" And it was really nice to just be able to be open and honest with them. So that is one of the benefits that I've found with opening up online, and it's continued opening up those conversations in person. So I encourage you to start just being more matter of factly in like a not a blunt way, but just, oh, this is the reality, and don't feel shameful about it. For example, like if you are sitting down at a restaurant and there's a booth and one side has booths and one side has chairs, and your thin friend, if they're with you, this is just a hypothetical example, of course, but like let's say the thin friend goes to sit down on the booth side, you could easily ask like, "Hey, do you mind if I sit there? It's a little bit more comfortable for me." And that's all. And I'm sure your friend maybe has never thought of this if they've never existed in a larger body type before. They would have never thought that, oh, this might be more comfortable for that person. I mean, my partner, that's something that he does for me. He's a conventionally sized, man, very average, like sized man, has no problem finding clothes, has no, especially like if his bag gets lost when we travel, those sorts of things. And I always take the booth side, and it's kind of like an unspoken thing at this point because it is at this point, because we've been together for like 3.5 years. But for me, talking about it online has helped bring some light to the people in my life who have never lived in a larger body where they might experience some of these things. This goes even for traveling. We know that I will, even for checking a bag, I will always be bringing a carry-on when my partner and I travel, because if my bag gets lost, depending on the country we're in, I might not be able to find a swimsuit or clothes that fit or shoes that fit, and it might take a couple of days for my bag to get to me. So those are some of the things that I always pack in my carry-on just in case. It's kind of like my insurance policy. I view it as. And I learned this the hard way because I have had my bag get lost multiple times. It's just a part of traveling. Weather comes and they can't get the bags on the plane in time, but they still want the plane to go so people don't miss their connections. It happens. And I've learned that we need to pack a few of these things in the bag so that we are prepared in case this happens. But those are things that maybe someone who is more conventionally straight sized would have never had to think about before, because if their bag gets lost, they can just go buy it in store and charge the airline, for losing their bag. Even sharing videos that you see on social media, if you see something that's relatable, you can send those things to your friends and your family and say, "Hey, like you've never thought about this before," or like, "This is something that I've been wanting to open up the conversation about with you, and this is how I feel like existing," or it doesn't even have to be that serious. I think that these vulnerable videos online, while I experience as a creator, can experience a lot of hate from them, they are they're an amazing tool at the end of the day for people to share their experiences and to feel community. And that is why I continue to show up online and try to share my most vulnerable thoughts and relatable experiences with you all. But I've also had to create boundaries in my life between social media and what I share and how I accept comments and DMs, and just like how much time I let myself experience that on the internet. Some of the boundaries that I've had to create is like turning off my comments. And that's easier said than done in terms of I can do that as a creator, but what you're experiencing in your life might not be something that you can turn off. But even let's say someone says a microaggression of like, "I look so fat in this," or "I feel so fat in this." And it's like, just even stating, "Hey, as a fat person, that makes me feel really bad about myself. I know you didn't mean it like that." And just trying to name some of those feelings. The more I talk about vulnerable things, the more I just realize how much we are all craving this same type of connection and community, especially in a time when we are watching as plus size people the plus size body positivity movement, whatever you want to call it, being kind of crawled back and taken away from us again. We had all of this movement in, I want to say like 2020, 2021, where brands are rolling out plus sizes, brands are having plus size models on the runway and curve models, and we're seeing more representation across campaigns. And we're watching that as a society now be crawled back. There is maybe one curvy girl, if we're lucky, on a brand trip. these days. The amount of curve and plus size models in New York Fashion Week, Bridal Fashion Week, all of that has significantly decreased. A few of my creator friends have shared the exact stats. I don't have them in front of me right now, but it has been a significant drop from the type of representation we're seeing. So it is more important for me now more than ever to show up and share these experiences online, because the way that the internet is right now, and society is right now, we're seeing less and less of that in terms of what's being platformed by brands and campaigns. And I hope that these voices and these stories continue to get told. And I also hope that Meta and Instagram figures out their hate comment problem that they have online. In that video that I had posted, I had a couple call outs for Meta and Instagram and just things that they could do to help make our lives better. So creators who live in marginalized bodies or communities aren't aren't met with so much hate when they show up online, because that makes people not want to show up online, and in turn that continues to stifle these voices, and we see a reversal of kind of all of the work that had been done to create more inclusive communities, and it's something that I don't want to see personally. So even with all of that hate and all of the exhaustion that can come with it, I still believe in showing up. I know that people are craving realness, and I know that they're craving for someone to go first and to say these things out loud. And I'm willing to go first, even if it helps one person feel less alone. So if you've ever questioned your place in the world or online, I hope this episode reminds you that you don't need to shrink to be safe. You don't need to stay small to be loved, and you don't need to be perfect to be seen. Show up as you are and be yourself. Thanks for joining me today in this episode of Out of Office Era. If this episode helped you feel seen or gave words to something that you've been carrying, send it to someone who might need that too. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. And for a first look at next week's guest, plus the parts that we don't always say out loud, follow us on Instagram at Out of Office Era. We don't have to do it the way that it's always been done, so keep choosing what's real and come back when you're ready.